Welcome back to Crawford-Clark Close-Up. 2019 marks the 80th anniversary of Batman, in my eyes the greatest comic book superhero of all time, from the pencil of the late, great Bob Kane. Originally referred to as the Batman, the character has had a number of other epithets over the years, including the Caped Crusader, the world's greatest detective, and of course, the Dark Knight. Kane could hardly have envisioned that scores of Batman fans would continue to flock back to the comics 8 decades since the character's conception, nor that there would be a multitude of interpretations of the iconic character on the small and big screen over the years. First, there was Lewis Wilson and Robert Lowry, who brought Batman to life on TV screens in the 1940s, but it wasn't until the mid-60s and the advent of Technicolor that Batman and the boy wonder Robin would burst onto both television and movie screens for the first time. The TV series ran for 120 episodes over 2 years and was a bright pop art interpretation of the character, complete with requisite whams and pows. The Batman movie of 1966 and the television series that continued after it was the first real serialized version of Batman on screen, and young fans lapped it up. It wasn't until director Tim Burton and Warner Brothers decided to bring a darker vision of Gotham City to cinema-goers in 1989 on the 50th anniversary of the Caped Crusader that audiences fully embraced the cinematic Batman. Over the following 8 years, 4 Batman movies and a more mature animated television series would go from dark and gothic before quickly reverting back to zany and camp before the Batman took another hiatus. Lauded by critics and fans, 2005's Batman Begins heralded the return of the character to its origins, and then up-and-coming director Christopher Nolan stunned with his Dark Knight trilogy, introducing villains seen for the first time in the Batman films, like Scarecrow, and revitalizing characters that we've loved for decades, like the Joker. After another small break, a new Batman movie was announced, with The Dark Knight going up against Superman in Dawn of Justice in 2016. This ranking video will be spanning 1966 to 2016 as we look back over the 9 Batman movies to date, from Adam West to Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer to George Clooney, and Christian Bale to Ben Affleck, in anticipation for Matt Reeves' The Batman coming in 2021, with Robert Pattinson taking on the role for a new generation of fans. Before we get started, this ranking is subjective, as always, so please bear that in mind when you comment on this video. Please let us know your ranking of each Batman film in the comments, and if you enjoy this video, please click subscribe at the top of the page so you don't miss out on any new content as soon as we upload it. You can also come and find Crawford-Clark Close-Up on Facebook and Twitter, and drop us an email with suggestions for future reviews to crawfordclarkcloseup@gmail.com. Holy Bat Ranking. Let's get started. At the bottom of the Bat ladder, at number 9, will be no surprise to anyone. Batman and Robin is a horrendous film that saw Warner Brothers capitalising on the success of Batman Forever and its more garish, colourful interpretation of The Dark Knight by ramping up the camp by 100 and giving audiences a headache. Gone is any kind of characterization. George Clooney is monotone as Bruce Wayne and Batman. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Uma Thurman ham it up to the max as Freeze and Poison Ivy, and the less said about the monstrously bad vision of Bane, the better. It's something when even the film's director has publicly apologised for this insult to the Bob Kane legacy.
If there's anybody watching this that, let's say, loved Batman Forever and went into Batman and Robin with great anticipation, if I disappointed them in any way, then I really want to apologize, because it wasn't my intention. My intention was just to entertain them.
Still, at least it meant that Warner Brothers would have a serious rethink about the future direction for Batman, so that's one saving grace. At number 8, it's the one that started it all off, another campy movie in the series, but one that was so unashamedly so, and as it was the first iteration of Batman on the silver screen, we had nothing else to compare it to. Cesar Romero is a highlight as the Joker, and Adam West and Burt Ward have great chemistry as the crime-fighting duo in a cheesy but entertaining romp. At number 7, we have the latest incarnation of Batman portrayed by Ben Affleck. Much like most actors when they're announced as the new Bruce Wayne and Batman, Affleck came under scrutiny from the fans, thinking that he wouldn't cut the mustard. But he gives a solid, if unspectacular, performance, despite having only one real facial expression throughout the film's overly long runtime. Jeremy Irons is wasted as Alfred, Jesse Eisenberg is a bizarre choice for Lex Luthor, given some very hammy dialogue to play with, and the film is practically devoid of any fun. Pitting Batman against Superman is an interesting idea, but the execution really isn't much to write home about. The introduction of Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman in the third act, however, is worth sticking around for. Just outside the top 5 Batman movies in our ranking is Joel Schumacher's first entry in the canon, 1995's Batman Forever. I have to admit that I loved this movie growing up. It isn't as campy and farcical as the next one, though Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones' interpretations of the Riddler and Two-Face should have been stripped back significantly, and Val Kilmer actually plays on the tortured Bruce Wayne mourning his parents well here, and makes for the most part a good Batman. Forever made huge money in the summer of 1995, hence why Warner Brothers were reluctant to wait too long before releasing the next film, but it's a step down in quality from Tim Burton's 2 films. With Batman Returns getting at times very dark, the fear from the studio was that if Forever continued down the same road, kids would be alienated from these Batman movies, hence a shift in tone towards the light. Into the top 5, we start with the weakest of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, the finale, Dark Knight Rises. The film tries to be all things at once and is crammed to the rafters with characters and motivations, and is very dialogue heavy. Following the death of Rachel and the scapegoating of Batman at the end of The Dark Knight, Wayne and Batman have gone into hiding, until Tom Hardy's intimidating Bane unleashes terror on Gotham and brings Batman to his knees. Dark Knight Rises is Nolan's operatic Batman movie, but it's far too long and often too convoluted for its own good, with more endings than The Lord of the Rings. Tom Hardy gives a controversial yet intriguing interpretation of Bane, and Anne Hathaway is perfectly fine as Catwoman, and thankfully Bale's husky Batman voice is toned down here. It's a solid conclusion to an impressive trilogy that managed to put bums on seats and make Batman an engaging character once again. At number 4, we go back to the beginning of Nolan's Bat trilogy with 2005's Batman Begins. We'd had 8 years of no Batman film after the hideous Batman and Robin ended the first theatrical run of the character, before Nolan decided to reinvent the wheel and give fans an origin story for Bruce Wayne and Batman. Yes, it's cliched, with Wayne training with ninjas, and the Liam Neeson character reveal is fairly obvious in the second act, but this was a welcome breath of fresh air to a stagnant franchise, and Christian Bale and Cillian Murphy particularly impress in their respective roles. Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine are inspired casting as Fox and Alfred, and I even like Katie Holmes as Rachel, who seems to come in for a huge amount of negativity in the role, when she actually acquits herself well. We begin the top 3 with Tim Burton's first Batman movie, the one that catapulted itself to the top of the box office as one of the most anticipated movies in the crowded summer 1989 market. Released on the 50th anniversary of Bob Kane's creation, Batman was adult. Gotham City looked incredible, Danny Elfman's score was outstanding, this and Batman Returns are still, in this reviewer's eyes, the best theme we've ever got for Batman, and Michael Keaton kills it as Bruce Wayne and Batman. Everyone was shocked when they announced that Beetlejuice would be playing the eponymous hero, but they quickly withdrew their dissent when they saw Keaton in the role. Jack Nicholson was just about the only actor to be able to play the Joker in all his theatrical glory, and he's clearly having a ball from the moment the green hair and the white makeup are applied, and Kim Basinger is also great as Vicky Vale. The film has dated a little as it celebrates its 30th anniversary this year, but for the most part it still holds up as one of the strongest visions of the Dark Knight on the screen. My top 2 are very much head and heart choices. My heart would love to put Batman Returns as my top Batman movie, but my head tells me it belongs in second place. From the haunting opening tracking shot of the baby penguin travelling through the sewers of Gotham, coupled with Danny Elfman's incredible score, Batman Returns is a gothic masterwork. The casting is sublime. Danny DeVito and his makeup are fantastic for the Penguin. Michelle Pfeiffer's Selina Kyle and Catwoman have still never been bettered, and Christopher Walken is also great as Max Schreck. Gotham has been given a makeover since Burton's first movie, and it's clear from the get-go that Burton had more creative freedom in his second foray into the world of the Caped Crusader. Yes, the film does get very dark and disturbing in places, but the cinematography is amazing, the characters are well fleshed out, and Michael Keaton gives the single best performance as Batman in this stellar movie. So, number 1 is cliché, but no Batman fan can really deny the power of Nolan's The Dark Knight. The first trailers and images of Heath Ledger's take on the Joker sold fans that this was going to be the definitive Batman movie, and it didn't disappoint. This remains the most profitable Batman film of the lot, and it's easy to see why. Christian Bale knocks it out of the park as Batman, despite the over-exaggerated husk to his Batman voice throughout. Heath Ledger is unhinged in the best way, bringing a new lease of life and anarchy to the Joker, and Aaron Eckhart is also terrific as Harvey Dent and Two-Face. The stakes are high, the storytelling is fantastic, and ultimately, Bob Kane must have been smiling. So, there's our 2 cents on the Batman movies. How does our ranking compare to yours? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel at the top of the page if you enjoyed this review. Happy anniversary to Batman. Now we just have to wait a little bit longer before Matt Reeves' The Batman reboots the franchise once again in June 2021. Coming up, we're looking back over 25 years of The Vicar of Dibley, and we'll be concluding our look back over the Roger Moore James Bond movies. For now though, thanks for watching, and until next time, that's a wrap.